From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, August 24th, 2018. Silver is trading at $14.67 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,193 per ounce. Zencash is trading at $20, and the average price of Bitcoin is $6,524. Antiwar.com reports a day after both the Afghan government and U.S. government declined offers to attend, the Taliban has announced they have accepted Russia's invitation to a multinational peace talks to be held next month in Moscow. The Taliban issued a statement saying it is their intention to send a delegation led by the head of their political office, which is based in Qatar. The U.S. recently held talks with Taliban from that office. The Taliban's acceptance is a significant boost for the talks. Russia has reported inviting 12 nations to the talks, though as yet, we don't know which will be attending. Having the Taliban there will give the talks at least some meaning and credibility. The Afghan government has said that they want talks to be one-on-one with the Taliban and no external countries involved. The Taliban, by contrast, had said they believe they need assurances from other countries, particularly the United States, and don't think talks with the Afghan government by itself would be particularly meaningful. Zencash is now Horizon. Horizon is a privacy platform built on zero-knowledge technology with a decentralized secure node architecture. The Horizon platform enables real-life uses beyond currency, including the ability to privately chat with other people. Soon, Horizon will enable you to publish information and go anywhere on the web, all with complete privacy. Horizon, bringing privacy to life. Learn more at horizon.global. HORIZEN.global. UPI reports as California firefighters battled the largest fires in state's history, Verizon slowed wireless data speeds to a crawl, making it almost impossible for emergency personnel to use some of its high-tech tracking equipment. Santa Clara County Fire Chief Anthony Bowden said emergency personnel heavily rely on internet services to monitor fast-moving fires and coordinate resources. The fire department has an unlimited government plan with Verizon, but the company slowed or throttled data speeds once the agency reached a certain threshold, according to Bowden in an August 20th court filing. Bowden said the internet has become an essential tool in providing fire and emergency response, particularly for events like large fires, which require the rapid deployment and organization of thousands of personnel and hundreds of fire engines, aircraft, and bulldozers. Keeping emergency personnel connected requires a lot of data. While battling the Mendocino Complex fire, Bowden said his department's mobile communications center sent and received 5 to 10 gigabytes of data through a wireless router daily. During that time, Verizon reduced speeds that slowed service of the equipment to dial-up speeds. Santa Clara County Fire Captain Bill Murphy told CNN simple tasks like sending an email or updating a Google document were almost impossible. You can support FPP Radio by joining the Fans program. Fans are friends, allies, and numerous supporters. Fans help FPP afford to produce more original content. You can join the Fans program for as little as $1 per month through Patreon and get perks like ad-free versions of FPP Radio News and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio. To learn more or to join the Fans program, visit fans.fppradio.com. Reuters reports a federal judge sentenced former U.S. intelligence contractor Reality Winner on Thursday to more than 5 years in prison after she admitted leaking a top-secret report on Russian interference in U.S. elections to a media outlet. Winner, who has spent already nearly 2 years in jail, pled guilty in June to passing the National Security Agency report to The Intercept in 2016. One of her attorneys, Titus Nichols, said Winner is receiving credit for the time she spent in pretrial confinement. During a hearing in Winner's hometown of Augusta, Georgia, Judge James Hall approved her lawyer's request for a 63-month sentence, followed by 3 years of supervised release, according to Nichols. It was one of the longest sentences ever given to someone for illegally disclosing government information, according to Nichols. Winner's attorneys said in a statement the sentence and accompanying plea agreement both reflect that Reality recognizes that actions have consequences and that she has learned from her mistakes and is prepared to accept the consequences of her actions. Winner admitted to intentionally printing a copy of the intelligence report in her office and mailing it to the news outlet. She was indicted on a single federal count of willful retention and transmission of national defense information, a felony under the Espionage and Censorship Act that carries a maximum sentence of 10 years in prison. Betsy Reed, editor-in-chief of The Intercept, said in a statement that Winner should be honored and that her sentencing and other prosecutions of whistleblowers were attacks on freedom of speech and of the press. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
When severe weather strikes, it's important you're in the know. Even if power goes out and cellular networks are down, radio can be your lifeline. And Next Radio is the free app that brings FM radio right to your Android smartphone. No data or cellular network required, and it won't drain your battery. Go to the Google Play Store right now. Download the Next Radio app to your Android device. Stay tuned to this station, and please stay safe. For a full list of compatible devices, visit nextradioapp.com.
Hey, it's Steve Harvey here for the Illinois Broadcasters Association, and in a recent survey, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency was asked to name the top 5 items that every Illinois family needs to have in their home's emergency disaster kit. Check out these answers. Water, can't live without it. Number 2, non-perishable food. Well, after all, a man gotta eat, right? Number 3, weather radio, and make sure you got fresh batteries too. Number 4, flashlight. Even more reason to have fresh batteries on hand. Number 5, first aid kit. Look, there's no reason to feud over what items to put in your family's emergency disaster kit. Get the answers and more at ready.illinois.gov. That's ready.illinois.gov.
Sponsored by the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, aired in cooperation with the Illinois Broadcasters Association and this station.
Illinois, we examine the issues impacting you, your income, and your community. Here's your host for today's program, Bill Oshanke.
Hey, good Friday to you, Illinois. Thanks for joining us for this adventure in broadcasting on the 24th. It means September is 1 week from tomorrow, if you can believe that, which means Labor Day is right around the corner, and for many, harvest is right around the corner as well. Wondering, there's certainly rain in parts of central Illinois today, if that even makes a dent anymore, maybe for some of the later planted or longer maturity soybeans. But you think about August rains, more and more of these early soybeans, not necessarily all of August will the rains make any difference. On the program today, we had a candidates forum on Wednesday. On yesterday's program, you heard comments from Governor Bruce Rauner and his opponent, J.B. Pritzker. Also at the forum were the 2 candidates for Attorney General, Erica Harold. We'll hear from her first. And then Representative Kwame Raoul will be second on there. Now, in the governor's forum, they talked about different things in the issue of fairness. We tried to keep that as even as possible. In the AG's forum, they spoke a lot more on similar subjects. So we'll be able to hear a little bit and then compare and contrast as you wish. So that's coming up in a little bit. Also on the program, Tom Heinold, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We may talk about Olmsted if we can, but most of what we'll talk about are the planned 2020 closures. LaGrange, for example, the sheet that I have says up to 120 days closure. LaGrange needs change and needs improvements desperately. But what does that also mean if you close the river for 4 months to upgrade it? And hopefully up to is the right term, because more than would just scum the works even more. So we'll get into all that, plus the other repairs that will need to be done. And Sabrina Berkowitz, social media, on a Friday's RFD Today. Stay with us.
Tonight, we stand and dare to dream big.
On Friday, September 7th, join Stand Up to Cancer for all the inspiration.
It takes courage to take on cancer.
All the laughter.
I'm here to teach you how to conduct a self-exam for cancer.
I thought I was getting a massage.
I know where you are. You change one letter in cancer, it becomes dancer. What?
All the stars.
This is what it feels like to stand on the precipice of great change.
We all have someone. We all have a reason to be on our feet.
Let's dream big and stand tall in this fundamental truth that when we join together to fight cancer, we can beat it.
Because we know what's possible when enough of us stand together.
So stand up with us. Dare to dream big.
Light it up and raise it high.
If we all stand up to cancer together, we can kick it so good.
Every network, every star. One night to save lives. Tune in live Friday, September 7th, 8, 7 Central on ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. Check your local listings for cable providers.
I used to say I was an Illinois Farm Bureau member because it gives us farmers a voice in Washington. Then there was a bad regulation proposed in my community. That's when I learned what my county Farm Bureau does for me right here in my own backyard. From giving scholarships to local kids to tackling township or zoning concerns, Farm Bureau starts right here. And now, that's why I say I'm a member.
Call your county Farm Bureau and rediscover your grassroots power.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome back to RFD Today. I'm DeLoss Yankee. On Friday, on Wednesday, we had a candidates forum. You heard from the governor and his opponent on yesterday's program. Today, we'll hear from the attorneys general candidates about that. Said that right, actually. Doesn't sound right, but I still said it right. Erica Harold is GOP nominee. We'll hear from her first.
Sadly, in our state, public corruption is a bipartisan problem where we've seen governors on both sides having to deal with issues of incarceration as a result of breaking the public trust. And I think it's important to have an attorney general that will be as proactive as possible, not only in using the office's current statutory authority, but also to advocate for additional tools so that the attorney general can be a much more vigorous and robust fighter against public corruption. A third priority for me is working to reform the workers' compensation system. I think that is critical because any of you who have to deal with our system, you know what a competitive disadvantage it places you in comparison to other states. Other states have systems that have more balance, and our system has a level of unpredictability and inconsistency that makes it very challenging for employers when they're trying to know, okay, what will my insurance rates be? If I keep a safe workplace environment, will my rates actually go down? Our system is fairly arbitrary. And I think it's very important that we reform our workers' compensation system because we have to find ways to create jobs within our state. We have to find ways to make sure that jobs and opportunities don't go to the surrounding states. That's why I've highlighted it as a priority. But I want to focus particularly on what are some of the key distinctions between my opponent and me as it relates to our state government and our industry in particular. And there's one particular piece of legislation that I want to highlight because it's something that I think shows the contrast between us. And many of you are probably familiar with it. It was Senate Bill 3005. It was one of the pieces of legislation that the Illinois Farm Bureau most vigorously opposed during this past legislative session. I put out a statement in opposition to it, and my opponent that you'll hear afterwards, he was the chief sponsor of this piece of legislation. In a nutshell, what it would have done is amend state law as it relates to permitting and agency decisions in Illinois. And it would have expanded standing to give people who weren't even parties to the original administrative process. It would have given them standing to try to go into court and to sue and to try to block agency decisions within our state. It would have applied to siting locations for farms. It would have applied to permitting decisions for businesses. Many, many groups opposed that piece of legislation because it would not have actually protected people's interests. We already have laws that do that. What it would have done was expand standing within our court system. It would have been an invitation for trial lawyers to come and try for ideological reasons to block decisions within our state. And it would have really enhanced and created an increased cost of doing business because if you are trying to budget for a permit or a siting location for a farm, and all of a sudden you feel like you've got to the end, you've complied with the law, and the agency says that you deserve your permit, you think that you're done. But this piece of legislation would let somebody else come in, bring you back into court and try to block what the agency said you were already entitled to. You would be forced to pay the legal fees with it, and it could be protracted. And the certainty that you would need in terms of making decisions for your family, your farm, and your business, that certainty would go out the window.
Ms. Harold, the first question, and I'll start with one. Agriculture has got a lot of things that are in place today that are really important to us, namely sales tax exemption for our input cost. All our neighbors around us have that. Farmland assessment. All our neighbors around us have that. Livestock industry, Livestock Management Facility Act are three that are really important to the agriculture community. How will you work to defend those and protect those for us in agriculture? And the second question then is, would you implement, previous attorney generals have implemented ag advisory groups. Would you have such an advisory group that would help you maybe answer any questions, or a go-to group that you could meet with?
That's a great question, and I would absolutely have ag advisory groups, because one of the ways that I would be able to best protect industries is to make sure that experts and all the stakeholders have the opportunity to sit down and to share the impact of various pieces of legislation. And so I would absolutely have ag advisory boards, and I'd want them to be drawn from a variety of different types of farms, different sizes, to make sure that everyone's interests and all the stakeholders are represented. And the three things that you identified, those are three things that I support. Because when Illinois is looking at how to maintain its competitive advantage, we have to look not at our state in a vacuum, but as it relates to the surrounding states. So if every other state around us is giving certain sort of tax incentives and we got rid of ours, then if you just do the simple economics, people will leave and go to those other states. Illinoisans can ill afford to have people deciding to leave our state because of a competitive disadvantage. And one of the things that in particular I would do is try to highlight the unintended consequences, or sometimes the bad intended consequences of certain pieces of legislation. So specifically with LMFA, the Senate Bill 3005 that I was highlighting before, that would have actually undermined the balance that that piece of legislation struck. And in talking to people who were involved in negotiating with that piece of legislation, that was a very seminal point in time when people all came to the table and were talking about the interests that were important and making certain decisions based upon that. And so if people propose different bills that would undermine that, I would try to use the bully pulpit to be able to highlight some of the unintended consequences. But at the heart of it really is those advisory committees that would be highlighting those issues for me as well. I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to be here. I know when many people are thinking about this election, they start to feel sort of demoralized about it and demoralized about our state. But it's important to be able to be here to talk about the fact that if we are able to actually change some of the people within Springfield, we have the ability to be able to put our state on a better trajectory.
Erica Harold will hear next from Kwame Raoul.
Does the warmer weather have you itching for a weekend getaway? Take your Illinois Farm Bureau membership savings with you.
Farm Bureau members can save up to 20% at choice hotels, including favorites like Comfort Suites, Sleep Inn, Quality Inn and Suites, with even more to choose from.
Call 800-258-2847 or visit the Choice Hotels website to search all the hotels at once and to make advance reservations.
Contact your local County Farm Bureau for your discount code number.
When it comes to social media, Sabrina Berkowitz connects rural routes for you. Sabrina covers a broad range of ag topics, so Farm Bureau members are the first to know about key issues. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up with a grain and livestock farm in my extended family, and today I really enjoy helping people learn how to use social media to advocate for agriculture.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Remember that movie National Lampoon's Vacation? Well, Clark Griswold has nothing on me. Give me the open road and my Illinois Farm Bureau membership card, and I am the ultimate road warrior. Like last summer, I drove the family to Williamsburg at a fraction of the cost. Once I hit the road, I don't stop for much, so I used my membership to rent a minivan from Enterprise. The kids got more bouncing room, and I saved 5%. Then I used my Illinois Farm Bureau membership to save 20% on choice hotels from here all the way to the East Coast. On the way back, we stopped and saved at our favorite theme park, too. I was hoping it would wear out the kids and they'd sleep. Good thing I got that minivan for bouncing, though. No matter how unique my travel needs are, I know that my membership can help. Illinois Farm Bureau. It's membership for my lifestyle.
Isn't it time you learned how Illinois Farm Bureau member-only discounts fit into your lifestyle? Call your county farm bureau or visit ilfb.org for details.
Look up, look down, look around. Look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
If you're hearing this, you should be concerned about the Asian longhorn beetle, an invasive species that's destroying our trees. But you can help. Look for the signs and help stop the beetle.
Look up, look down, look around. Look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
Some signs of the ALB are dime-sized holes on tree trunks, a sawdust-like material called frass, and the beetle itself, with a long black body and white spots.
Look up, look down, look around. Look up, look down, look around. In the trees and on the ground, 'cause the ALB must be found.
Learn all the signs and how to report them at AsianLonghornedBeetle.com. That's AsianLonghornedBeetle.com.
Welcome back to RFD Today. I'm DeLoss Yonke. We just heard from AG candidate Erica Harold. We'll now hear from Representative Kwame Rahul.
Public corruption is something that is talked about a lot in our state. We've sent more than our share of governors to the federal penitentiary, so necessarily it's talked about. I agree with Justice Brandeis. Justice Brandeis said that the number one cleanser to public corruption is sunshine, that nobody's going to be doing anything if you're watching. That's why I sponsored legislation to create the public access counselor within the Attorney General's office. That did not exist until I introduced and passed that legislation to make sure that FOIA requests and FOIA challenges and Open Meeting Act complaints are processed by the Attorney General's office. Now, one of my priorities is to make sure that that public access counselor's office is appropriately resourced so we can more rapidly get responses to complaints on FOIA requests or Open Meeting Act complaints. Another topic that's been discussed is the notion of whether or not we should extend grand jury authority to the Attorney General's office. I'm certainly open to that. But if we're going to do it, we should make sure the Attorney General's office is appropriately resourced to effectively do the jobs in these cases. But even if the legislature does not do that, right now, the Attorney General has the capacity, and I've spoken to Attorney Generals throughout the state. In fact, this past weekend I was with a few of them, to collaborate, and I've maintained a great relationship with the State's Attorneys Association during my tenure in the legislature, to collaborate with local state's attorneys that know their respective regions the best to go after public corruption. And I know it hasn't been heavily reported, but I asked the Attorney General, to what extent have you done it? And she gave me a long list of cases where she's prosecuted public officials, including prosecutors, sheriffs, state employees who've committed fraud. But sometimes the discussion doesn't make its way onto the airways. But that prosecution has taken place under the tenure of the current Attorney General. And certainly, if I'm elected, your next Attorney General, and any incident of public corruption is brought to my attention, I will vigorously go after it, utilizing the experience I've had as a prosecutor. I've practiced law for 25 years. Beginning as a prosecutor, I've worked on policy for 14 years. I've turned to the Farm Bureau for advice on matters that sometimes that I didn't know, admittedly, much about. I didn't grow up on a farm. I didn't grow up in a rural area, so it's been a learning process for me. One of the controversial issues that I was involved with this past session was a bill that was brought up to me with regards to people having standing when there's a permitting issue and whether or not they're an impacted party. It brought a lot of discussion to my office in Springfield. Jay came to me and said, "Oh no, you can't do this," and the Farm Bureau and others. And because of the policy that I've had in Springfield, my door was open. My door was open to people to come to educate me on the obstacles they saw with the legislation. That is what the legislative process is about. They call it sausage making sometimes because you have different people with different perspectives that weigh in and you listen. I started at the earlier part of my presentation saying I've run towards the controversial issues. One of the benefits of doing that is you talk to different people who have different perspectives. You get them in a room together and you try to work it out. That's who I've been. That's who I will be if I'm elected your next Attorney General.
There's three areas that are really important to Illinois farmers. That is the exemption for sales tax on our input costs, the farmland assessment law that is really important to us, as well as the Livestock Management Facility Act. If you are the Attorney General, and how will you support those going forward? Because our neighbors all around us have those. How will you support those different laws that we have?
I said to people who said to me that, well, we miss you in the legislature. I said, no, you won't, because the Attorney General weighs in either for or against different policy changes in the legislature. And in fact, I met with Lisa Madigan recently, and she said she's passed more legislation as an Attorney General than she ever did as a state senator. How would I weigh in? Same way I've weighed in historically. I've supported the cleanup on the farmland assessment. I realize that agriculture is responsible for a lot of jobs, 1 in 4 jobs in the state, and so we need to incentivize, and so doing so, make sure with sales tax incentives would be an appropriate priority.
Very good, thank you. Another question was, your office as an Attorney General and previous Attorney Generals have had ag advisory committees or advisory committees to be the go-to kind of group on different issues that you may be addressed. Would you have an interest in supporting or starting an ag advisory group once elected?
Yeah, I would maintain an ag advisory group and then make sure that we met frequently enough to be fully informed.
Kwame Raoul, more to come on RFD Today.
Bureau Radio Network.
Meet the new face of Illinois Farm Bureau, ILFB.org. A revamped website is your mobile-friendly go-to source for IFB, ag, and beyond. All it takes is one click for your link to Illinois agriculture.
Click for involvement.
Learn about programs to help you become a better leader.
Click for action.
Find out how you can be an advocate for agriculture.
Click for resources.
Here you'll find helpful materials and information.
Click to explore.
Check out the role of agriculture in our economy and our world.
ILFB.org.
Your link to Illinois ag.
Corn. Thanks to Illinois corn farmers, you can see it just about everywhere here in the land of Lincoln. What you may not know is the unexpected places you can find corn, like your gas tank. 97% of all fuel sold in the U.S. is a 10% ethanol blend. And here in Illinois, we're a top producer of ethanol. Not only does it drive your car, it drives our economy. Be sure to proudly choose an ethanol blend at the pump the next time you fill up. Illinois runs on homegrown corn and Illinois-made ethanol. Visit ilcorn.org to find out more. A message from Illinois corn farmers and their checkoff.
Farm, family, food. Those 3 words best describe Illinois Farm Bureau. Farm. For 100 years, Farm Bureau in Illinois has represented and served the men and women who make Illinois one of the top food-producing states. Family. At the heart of rural Illinois are traditional farm families who work together through Illinois Farm Bureau. And food. Farm Bureau families are proud to grow the healthy food they provide their families and yours. Farm Family Food, the heart of Farm Bureau in Illinois.
I used to say I was an Illinois Farm Bureau member because it gives us farmers a voice in Washington. Then there was a bad regulation proposed in my community. That's when I learned what my county Farm Bureau does for me right here in my own backyard. From giving scholarships to local kids to tackling township or zoning concerns, Farm Bureau starts right here. And now, that's why I say I'm a member.
Call your county Farm Bureau and rediscover your grassroots power.
All Ag.
All Illinois.
All Now.
There are a lot of smartphone apps out there, but do they have what's important to us here in Illinois? The Farm Week Now app does, and it's always at your fingertips. All Ag, all Illinois, and 24/7 where and when you need it for free. Go to your app or Play Store on your smartphone, hit search, type in Farm Week Now, that's one word, and download it today. Brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau, where we're all about farm, family, and food.
Farm Week and Partners Magazine editor Chris Anderson connects rural routes for you. Chris shares her 4 decades of writing expertise by making sure each edition delivers the best information. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I was raised on a farm in Champaign County growing corn, soybeans, popcorn, pumpkins, and poultry. My top priority is to inform, educate, and even entertain Farm Bureau members.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome back to RFD Today on a Friday. I'm DeLawes Yankee. Looking to buy or sell? Check out the latest Farm Week classified advertisements. Do you have livestock, farm equipment, land, or services to sell? You can use Farm Week classifieds calling 800-573-6120 or submitting online at farmweeknow.com. On the program now is Tom Heinold from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers Rock Island District. Tom, how are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me on today.
Well, you're welcome. Is Olmsted in your district? Is that in your area?
Actually, Olmsted is in Louisville District.
That's what I figured.
Area of responsibility. I understand they're having a ribbon cutting ceremony next Friday for that project, but I probably ought to let them talk about that.
Yeah, if it was out of the range, I didn't want to bring that up, but I did see that a ribbon cutting is set to happen to dedicate the project and is open to the public. So folks in southern Illinois and also from the other side of the border, friends from Kentucky could see that as well. So we'll talk about the Rock Island District, and in fact, you can go back to an article February 22 on FarmWeekNow.com written by Dan Grant and Dina Stroish. So that was 6 months ago, already talking about what's coming for the summer of 2020 and the plans for LaGrange and others. So anything new, any changes with that by chance? Hopefully still on schedule.
We are still on schedule for that plan. We're going to have 6 locks closed on the Illinois waterway from LaGrange Lock and Dam down near Versailles, Illinois, all the way up to Brandon Road Lock and Dam in the west suburbs of Chicago.
Wow. That is an ambitious project, but you probably more than anyone else know the importance, the need for that project.
Absolutely. In fact, LaGrange is pretty much the nation's poster child right now for decaying infrastructure. That thing was built in the 1930s with a 50-year design life, and obviously it's way past that now. It's only been rehabilitated once, which ought to have paid bought us maybe another 25 years of reliable service, but even that is long past. So that LaGrange major rehab really needs to happen. It's the nation's number one priority for a rehabilitation for a lock on our inland navigation system.
Is there necessarily a goal as to how long these changes will be able to last? One of the amazing things about this whole thing is that something that sits in water, I mean, if anything's going to erode, it would be something that would sit in water, and yet it's held up for 80 years. So do you know how much time you're buying or how much life you're extending to these?
Typically, we extend them for about 25 years. There are individual components, though, that can last much longer than that. Actually, LaGrange Lock got new miter gates last year, and the original miter gates that had been in there achieved almost an 80-year service life. And so with brand new gates designed to higher and better current design standards, we anticipate that those could go well past 50 years. But things like concrete that is exposed to freeze-thaw for 25 years or more, those things wear out, and those are things that are going to need to be periodically rehabilitated, pretty much no matter what we do.
What happens to some of those things? Because I'm sure some would love to keep for posterity or just as an example of what we've used before, and I'm sure others would say, I don't want to see that thing ever again, so get rid of it. So what happens to some of those things?
You're talking about the old miter gates that we took out?
Yeah, any old piece part that might have been replaced at some point.
Actually, most of the components don't have much section left, and they were about to fail. They're not really safe to do anything with, and more often than not, we sell those for scrap, and that benefits the project, and we can buy the next set of miter gates with a portion of that funding.
I was just curious what happens to that sort of thing. So the big project is LaGrange. You mentioned some others too. It's funny, I took my kids to Starved Rock State Park this summer, and we were close to the lock and dam, and I pointed to the north end, and I said, okay, see that? I said, that's where the boats come through. And my son, who's a 7th grader, says, that doesn't look very big. So if he can see it, then hopefully others can see that there's a need for improvements.
There is very much room for improvement. The locks that we have on the Illinois waterway are only 600 feet long, and you probably know already that the tows that transit the Illinois waterway are 1,200 feet long. The rehabilitations and repairs that are coming in the summer of 2020 do not construct new 1,200-foot locks. All we're authorized and funded to do at this point is to repair what's there. There is, however, an authority that Congress passed in 2007 called NESP. It's the Navigation and Ecosystem Sustainability Program that has comparable progress between ecosystem restoration and navigation improvements, and that authority would allow us to build a brand new 1,200-foot lock on the Illinois waterway, not just at LaGrange, but at Peoria as well.
Excellent. I have a question. We're going to wait until after the break to ask it. But I guess to help set you up, one of the things we'll talk about after the break is just how all of this goes. Because I guess you can touch on this now. Not everybody is thrilled that there has to be a closure, even though from pain comes progress. But some of that pain could be awfully painful for a few months.
Yes, I think in order to avoid unexpected and additional pain in the future, the closures in 2020 are kind of a necessary evil, if you will.
Right. So a planned shutdown hopefully is shorter and cheaper than an emergency.
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll get into more of that. And part of the thing we'll talk about after the break is just how this all goes along, what communication needs to be done as these things take place. And the other question I'll have is, the sheet that I says is LaGrange is up to 120 days, so hopefully that's the case, because you're operating in water, what kind of uncertainties could come with that as well. So we'll get into that discussion later after this break. Tom Heinold, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on RFD Today. Stay with us.
Thanks for shopping. Please come again.
Wow, you're really getting some bargains today. Think of all the money you've saved.
I know. And even better, my purchases are helping teach kids about agriculture.
Whoa, back up. I know you got some deals today, but I don't remember that purchase.
I use my Illinois Farm Bureau Visa card. Each time it's swiped, the IAA Credit Union makes a contribution to the Illinois Agriculture in the Classroom program.
Now that's a great deal. What else does your card do?
It's what it doesn't do. Charge me extra fees, have surprise rate jumps. Not with this card. I use it for all of my purchases.
I like the sound of that. Tell me, exactly what does Illinois Agriculture in the Classroom do?
They teach kids where their food really comes from. Just by using my card, I help provide teachers and volunteers with free materials so they can spread the message of the importance of agriculture in their classrooms.
The IFB Visa card may be the best bargain yet. I'm going to get one of those for myself.
Get a great card. Help a great cause. Go to IAAfoundation.org and click on the IFB Visa card to get one of your own.
Let's check the markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yankee, just a little bit higher. We've gone down far enough this week already, losing close to 18 cents in corn and 38 cents for soybeans. September corn today is up a penny and a quarter, 3.48. December up 1 1/4, 3.62 1/4. March up 1, 3.74 1/4. September soybeans up 3 1/4, 8.45 1/4. November up 3 1/2, 8.57 1/2. January up 3 1/2, 8.70 1/2. And September wheat down 6 1/4, 5.15 3/4. That's more than 40 cents for wheat we've lost now this week alone. October hogs down 30, 50.87. December up 12 at an even $51 a hundredweight. We've lost some ground in hogs this week. October cattle are down $1.12 at 107.60. DeLoss Yankee, RFD Radio Network. All right, welcome back to RFD Today. I'm DeLoss Yankee. Tom Heinold's on the phone, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. And specifics about 2020, LaGrange, Peoria, Starved Rock, for example. LaGrange and Starved Rock both say up to 120-day closure. Just to be sure, is that the same time? Hopefully those can be as in sync as possible so that there's only one big shutdown on the river?
That's right. Since we don't have a detour, we only have a single lock, so we can't work on one and have an adjacent one open. If you close down one lock, pretty much you've shut off traffic for the entire river. So we've been working with the Illinois River Carriers Association and other stakeholders on the river, and since we've really got to shut down for maintenance, we're going to start at the same time and hopefully open back up at the same time. That 120-day window is driven largely by work at Starved Rock and LaGrange. We'll have shorter closures at Peoria. Our sales actually could be up to 120 days. And then at Dresden Island and Brandon Road, those will actually be relatively short closures in 2020. And then we'll wait until 2023 to close Brandon Road and Dresden Island for somewhere between 90 and 120 days to do some major work there as well.
Gotcha. The function of these is for control of water flow and certainly to help boats get up and down. While these things are being repaired, you're not going to have boats, so you don't necessarily need to control the flow as much, but is there still some control that needs to be done during that time?
Yes, this work is primarily at the locks and not the dams. The dams will still operate as usual. I've heard a lot of rumors out there like we're going to drain the river and the marinas are going to be high and dry. That's absolutely not the case. If there's a water intake there for either a municipal potable water supply or cooling for the power plants along the waterway or marinas, we will still maintain navigation pools between the locks. And if folks have wreck boats, they'll be able to transit pools. They'll just have to portage around the dams because the locks won't be available. But the boat ramps will still be available on the river. We just won't be able to transit any traffic. Except, I should mention, if we get a Goldilocks scenario where there's enough water that the wickets at Peoria and LaGrange might be down, those dams are configured such that they can be laid on the bottom of the river and boats can transit right over the top of them.
Wow.
If Mother Nature happens to give us enough water that those dams aren't necessary during construction.
I was going to ask about that how much of a variable is the weather conditions, whether that's the snowfall or the eventual rain for whatever that time period is.
That's right.
Yeah.
The double-edged sword there is if we have enough water to float a boat right over the dams at Peoria and LaGrange, that's great, but if it's too much water, then we might end up flooding the contractor's cofferdams, and work might take more than that 120 days that we have scheduled. So we really are counting on Mother Nature to deal us a good hand here.
Excellent. I don't know about excellent, but I'm glad that you mentioned that. By the way, before I forget about asking, you mentioned you don't got to leave anything high and dry, but we're not high and dry right now, but how low are things? Or have they been lower than you would like them to be from a water level perspective of late?
We are dredging out there right now. LaGrange upper and lower, actually, a couple of weeks ago, due to a lack of rainfall, were steadily dropping, and we had to mobilize our dredge crews to go maintain that 9-foot navigation channel that we're authorized and funded to provide to the navigation industry. we've got a few hot spots out there right now that we're still working on that could approach 9 feet or less if the water starts to drop. But I think thankfully Mother Nature is going to send some our way, has already, and most of what's fallen already has been soaked up by the dry ground. But if we get more, we could see some runoff, and that could actually help river levels over on the Illinois waterway.
Yeah, by all means. The whole system to me is still just fascinating and amazing, and so impressive of how this system works, and just another example of why we're in the breadbasket of the world, really. And so we have to take care of these things to make sure that we ensure some of our competitive advantages. Now, while this is going on, well, let me ask you this real quick. $12 million, 10 mainly for LaGrange, and then 2 for the other, if I remember right. Is that, hopefully that's enough? We'd hate to be 2 months into this and say, we're running short, or you certainly don't want anything like that to muck the works.
That's right. We don't anticipate any break in funding. We have enough this year to go forward. We've already got brand new miter gates for Marcel and Starved Rock under contract, being fabricated. There's about almost a 2-year lead time to get those things fabricated. We should award a contract for LaGrange this year, and there's about an 18-month lead time on some of the new machinery that will need to be installed in 2020 for that contract, but we are absolutely on schedule right now.
And then what kind of communication, or with whom do you need to be in communication? Just about, okay, it's going well, we're on schedule, that sort of thing. How do you do that during that 4-month period, or however long that takes?
Well, we just yesterday, as a matter of fact, we put together what's called a Notice to Navigation Industry, an NTNI, more commonly known as a navigation notice, out to the industry. We usually only do that a year in advance, but in this case, it's going to be kind of a big deal, and so we put out the notice to the navigation industry, and that distribution list is mariners up and down the river, and other interested parties and stakeholders, the businesses that they serve along the river, all the terminals, marinas, other municipalities. So we are starting to get the word out. We have on our webpage, if you go to www.mvr.usace.army.mil, right from our front page, you can click on a link and see the schedule. So we are very, very eager to start our advertising campaign and get as much feedback from the navigation industry and the users of the river so that we can avoid as much pain as possible.
All right. Wouldn't it be nice if folks went to LaGrange to tour how great the system is as opposed to how much it's falling apart? Wouldn't that be a fun day?
I'm looking forward to the day.
Yes. I was on Peoria a couple of years ago with Representatives LaHood and Davis. They had a group there, and the first thing the guy was talking about was the miter gates don't work anymore. And now let's walk to the other side. And I thought, oh my gosh, that doesn't sound good at all. So, yeah, let's hopefully we will have better things to talk about soon. So, best of luck with all of those plans. We'll certainly be hoping for good weather in 2020 as well, Tom. Thanks so much.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Tom Heinold, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, talking about the Illinois River closures that will take place in 2020, LaGrange, Peoria, Starved Rock, Marseilles, and then also 2023 eventually, Dresden Island and Brandon Road. But up to 120-day closures on 2 or 3 of those, and then Peoria should be up to 60 days. And in that time, for those that normally like to put things up and down the river, it will be different. Could be chaos for some of those businesses in a short period of time, but as Tom mentioned in the first segment, a planned closure is much cheaper and quicker than an emergency closure. So the planned closure is in place. By the way, Rita will be at Farm Progress next week. Be sure to check out AeroVironment's booth, 9308, Farm Progress Event Goer Experience. Learn about the Quanix Drone and AV Decision Support System, he said. Powerfully simple to use drone and data analytics ecosystem that delivers actionable field intelligence for today's farmers. Great company. I met them at Commodity Classic. Go see them with Rita at Farm Progress. Let's check livestock markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLoss Yonke. Illinois direct hog market steady late in the week. We're down a couple this week, down 4 to 5 in the last 2 weeks. $17 to $29 a hundredweight. Sow market is also steady, 16 to 25 for lights, 22 to 31 for heavy sows. Greenville, middle of the week, slaughter steers and heifers steady to 1 lower, $2 lower on low choice and selects. Feeder steers and heifers were down $5 to $10 a hundredweight. Slaughter steers choice topped at 108, high dressing to 110, couple of prime lots to 114. Heifers also with a top of 108. They had a couple prime lots hit 116. 6-weight feeder steers from 1 1/4 to 140. 7 weights 100 to 120. Heifers 5 weights 120 to 145. 6 weights with a top of 140. This is the RFD Radio Network.
How do people benefit from raising livestock here in Illinois? Rich Giebert, Illinois farmer, president of the Illinois Farm Bureau.
Well, growing up on a livestock farm was always interesting, and I enjoy it more today than I did back then. But it did give me the opportunity to have a good work ethic, learn to get up in the morning. And you know, that was difficult during my senior days at high school and college days. I had a tendency not to go to bed at a respectable hour. But no, it was always enjoyable on the farm and getting up before daybreak and milking the cows and getting the chores done and then go about the rest of the day's business.
Illinois Farm Bureau, along with beef, corn, milk, pork, and soybean associations, make up the Livestock Development Group, supporting the Illinois livestock sector. For more information, check out illinoislivestock.org.
Welcome back to RFD Today on Friday. I'm DeLoss Yankee with Sabrina Berkowitz, Senior Social Media Specialist at Illinois Farm Bureau. Hello, Sabrina.
Hi, how are you?
I am doing all right, thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm
did I already ask you that?
peachy. Yes, you did.
I think I did.
Like twice already.
Sorry about that. That was a little much. Now, a couple of things to talk about. First of all, National Waffle Day. I hate getting these notifications after breakfast, but you know what? There's still 3 more meals during the day where we can enjoy waffles.
Did you say waffle?
I mean, it may have come out more like waffles, didn't
it? It's Waffle Day.
Waffles. National
Yes.
Waffle Day.
So if you didn't know this already, you've got 2 more eating opportunities, or if
2?
you're more like, I was going to say me and DeLoss, probably like 3 or 4.
There you go.
To take advantage and post a picture on Twitter or Facebook with the hashtag National Waffle Day, because that's trending right now.
That is trending right now, actually.
How could it not?
How could it not? In fact, waffle fries, I think, would have to count in something like that as well.
Totally.
Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, more serious things.
Yeah,
one thing about Facebook and authorization. Why would I need to be authorized to use the Facebook?
So if you are using Facebook for your small business or an organization that you're working for, this is for you. So several months back, Facebook decided, because of all of the election drama with Russian interference last year, that they want to be absolutely sure they knew who was placing ads, paid ads, and boosting posts on Facebook around political content. And it's not just political content. There's a whole big list of content that refers to environmental issues, governmental reform, guns, healthcare, immigration, infrastructure, poverty. I'm looking at this list. It's a long one. And so they want you to go through an authorization process. And you can find this on your Facebook page for your business or your organization by going into the settings feature. And then you'll see authorization on the left-hand side, kind of down below at the menu.
Is this something that's meant to protect the users, or is this something where Facebook just wants information?
It's Facebook's way of ensuring that they have transparency, so that the user, like you and me and Nick here, we know exactly where the ad is coming from that we're seeing. There's no way it could be like, Russia or Iran or some other country that wants to just stir the pot and cause trouble. So how they're doing this, though, you as the administrator on that Facebook page will have to go through the process on the page under authorizations, and you have to submit a front and back copy of your valid driver's license, the last 4 of your social security number, and your home address. But don't try to trick them in thinking you can give them your work address, because I did that. And they know.
Just like the Blues Brothers when they gave the address to Wrigley Field.
Yes.
Instead of their
Doesn't
actual
work.
address.
So they mail you a piece of paper in the mail in a white envelope that actually says from Facebook in Menlo Park, California. And it's got a code. You got to take that code and enter it into the authorization screen on your Facebook page, and then you are finally authorized to boost or do ads about this kind of content.
I always give, when they ask for an address, 807 Queens Boulevard.
What is that?
That was the McDowell's restaurant in Coming to America when Eddie Murphy went to work for
I love
John
that
Amos
movie.
from Good Times.
I love the costumes in that movie.
That's right, yes. It's very good.
So if you want to know more, that was a lot to explain over the air. Just Google Facebook authorization.
Okay, Facebook authorization.
Yeah.
Now, you said two things together that I didn't think would go together. One of them was television.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
Instagram
television. I thought Instagram was just for photos.
No, not at
such.
all. They use video. They have a lot of video.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
Well,
but television
has pumped itself up to 800 million users now, and they just launched Instagram TV. And when you open your app,
800 million users.
Yes.
Goodness sakes.
And when you open your app, there's a little icon in the upper right-hand corner. And, of course, I don't have it on my phone right now. Here we go. And it looks like a little TV. Click on it, and you can start to watch TV. And if you use Instagram for your business, pay attention to this, because you can now upload videos starting for as little as 15 seconds all the way up to 10 minutes.
10 minutes?
On Instagram TV.
That's a lot of... What's the word? Is that bandwidth? That seems like a lot of information.
It does. They want longer form video, and here's the kicker. You have to record it vertically. This is all vertical video now.
That's vertical, so not... Okay,
yeah,
I got
you don't turn your phone, because they know we don't turn our phones anymore.
Huh.
We just hold our phones in our hand and scroll, so they want to make it easier for us to watch videos on Instagram.
That's interesting that you would say it could be that long, because like on a YouTube video or even a Facebook video, you might have 2 seconds to capture someone.
Yeah.
Where they're already like, nah, don't want to watch it.
Yeah. So this is more like, I've been seeing like a lot of sports games and a lot of how-to videos, and I'll be working with the AV department to figure out what would be good for us to post on our first Instagram TV upload.
I tell you, so there is a lot of noise, and we need to be part of the social media conversation. When I hear just more and more stuff, I think, boy, there's something about radio. You know, you're busy everywhere, but your ears are available. People are going to be out in the fields doing harvest. You may be running the trucks or something like that. Just to have the radio on and listening to RFD is something that we can all rely on.
Isn't the sound of our voices relaxing you? I mean, this is what we bring.
Trying to bring it down a little bit.
Not only do we keep you up to date on social media trends and tips, but we like to relax you as well.
I saw a guy on Facebook who questioned, with Ed King passing from Leonard Skinner, what the best guitar riff is to start a song, which I thought was good. He was the guy that wrote Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a good discussion.
That's a good reminder that, not everything on social media has to be politicized or heated.
Right. Yeah, I think we could agree on that.
Have conversations about how much we love National Waffle Day, because America's doing that right now because it's trending.
That's right. By the way, I think satisfaction is the number one, and there's no debate over it whatsoever, and I'll unfollow you if you think otherwise.
Well, I think we're out of time, so I can't fight with you too much.
We got to go. Sabrina Berkowitz, Illinois Farm Bureau. I'm DeLoss Yankee saying watch your ends. We have Farm Progress next week. We have Growmark's annual meeting next week. We'll be back in studio on Monday, but we'll have a busy last week of August. This is RFD Today.
Stay tuned for more on RFD Today, right here on the Illinois Farm Bureau Radio Network.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Daniel Grant connects rural routes for you. With more than 2 decades of reporting under his belt, Dan is the go-to source for farmers when it comes to commodities. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I grew up on a grain and livestock farm near Roseville in Warren County. What I love about my job...
Remember back a few years ago when you wanted to sell something? Where could you advertise that product? You had so many media to choose from. There were signboards and newspapers and radio and television. Which one should you pick? Well, thanks to Heartland Newsfeed, those days are over. Let us help you plan a print ad, an online ad, or a radio ad that will target your customer. And the price is based on the type of advertising you want to do, the size of the print ad, or the length of the radio spot. Or you can choose all three. And our prices are considerably more affordable than the competition. And best of all, we guarantee satisfaction. If you don't like your ad, we'll do it over for you. We want you to be satisfied with what we do, so you'll let us plan your advertising over and over. So, call Heartland Newsfeed today at 1-866-285-4117. That's 1-866-285-4117. It's a new type of advertising for a brand new century.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you're someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.